Network Television proudly presents the 1986 Goodwill Games from Moscow and from Madrid. Brought to you by Pepsi. When it comes to taste and refreshment, time after time, it's Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
And by CNN, the world's most important network and a proud sponsor of the Goodwill Games.
And now, here is the host of the 1986 Goodwill Games. From Moscow, Bob Neal.
Good evening and welcome to our late night coverage of Goodwill Games 1986. We are concluding the 9th day of the 16 days of the Goodwill Games, and already 24 teams have won medals in medal competition here in Moscow. The competition has been intense. Primarily, most of the action has, in terms of medal winning, has been between the Soviet Union and the United States. Following track, the Soviet Union has really been piling up the medals and now has taken a commanding lead, 137-90 over the United States. Looking at some of the other countries who are here competing, and remember, only the Soviet Union and the United States have a team competing in all the competition. So the only real race that means anything in terms of total medals is between the Soviet Union and the USA. To the other countries who are participating, the medals mean something only in the events they're participating. East Germany has 20, Bulgaria 16, Romania 11, and if you were to go on down the list, which we won't right now, you would find that Ethiopia has 1 gold medal. You may remember Belaine Densimo, the marathoner who won and represented his country so well, and the folks there are very proud of that 1 single medal, the gold won by Ethiopia. Today was finally the time for the meeting between 2 teams that had been trying to meet during 2 Olympic boycotts. The water polo team from the Soviet Union and the U.S. The Soviet Union powerful, well-disciplined, and proving very clearly by a 10-4 score that they were indeed superior. Their goalie, Yevgeny Sharonov, with 2 great saves. You just saw him there. The defense was superb. The United States was trailing 3-0 early on, and they played an excellent game and clearly proved their superiority, winning the gold, the United States the silver. Hungary picked up the bronze medal. And tonight on our late night coverage, we're going to be debuting new coverage of a sport here at the Goodwill Games, and that's team handball. The United States has a pretty good team handball team, but it is primarily a sport that's popular in Eastern Europe. As a matter of fact, it's second only to soccer in popularity. We'll also be covering tennis from Yermala. It's been rain delayed because the weather about 500 miles northwest of Moscow has not been very good. And wrestling, we'll have the gold medal match between the Soviet Union and Bulgaria. The United States wrestled for the bronze medal and did win that bronze medal in wrestling competition. And in just a moment, we'll be back to continue with Curt Gowdy, who's joined us on the set. Curt here to cover marathon, the figure skating, and the rowing. Stay with us as we continue with Goodwill Games 1986. Curt Gowdy's joined us on the set, and Curt's going to be with us for the entire hour for our late night coverage tonight. Curt, we were talking about tennis coming up a little later. Tennis is being played in Yermala, which is about 500 miles northwest of Moscow. We're going to have some coverage later, but you have an interesting story about tennis. You have so many interesting stories, but you have one about that too.
Well, I have a friend named Neil Chase in New Hampshire. He's run a famous tennis camp for years up there. In fact, President Kennedy's son graduated there a few years ago from the camp. He has students there from 13 countries now, 28 states of the United States. And just before I left, we have what we call a farm up there. It's up by Franconia, Bethlehem, New Hampshire. He gave me a packet with brochures of his camp and with a handwritten note saying, I would love to have a Soviet young boy or girl as my guest next summer at my tennis camp. And I had a guide from in tourist the other day. Her name was Valerie Titov, and her husband is president of the World Gymnastic Federation, and she was a famous tennis player here. And I told her about it, and she said, you give me that, she spoke excellent English, give me that brochure, I'll give it to the Tennis Federation, and I know we'd love to send a young Soviet boy or girl over to New Hampshire next summer. As if you do, I live a mile and a half away there in the summer, and I'll keep watch and everything, and I know they'd have a wonderful time.
Take the kid to a Red Sox game.
Yeah, we'll take him down and show him the Red Sox in action. But these are the kind of outcroppings that come out of these games that are interesting.
So, you know, it always sounds corny. We talk about the goodwill that happens when people from very distant political and ideological and even cultural backgrounds get together, but it really does happen.
Well, you just got to rub a little shoulders, you know, and get together now and then. Things do happen between people.
We were talking when you appeared with us earlier on the late night edition about your money incident, when you lost the money here in Moscow. I think it was your first day here, and at the time you thought you were maybe going to get your money returned, but we have never followed up on the Curt Gowdy money story.
I lost, stuffed it in my Levi pocket, $948 in cash.
Oh, my.
Dollar bills, hundreds and like that. I got it back about 4 days ago, right the way I lost it.
It was just found on the streets, right?
Well, no, I think it was either left in the van or found on the street. They would not tell me. I wanted to give them a reward.
Yeah.
They said we gave them a reward. We gave him a beer. Hey, these guys got a pretty good sense of humor, you know. And there it was. And I had her sign a receipt on the back of my report. And I received $948 in cash, and what a story.
Okay, we're going to ask you to stick around for the whole show, but we have about a minute right now. We're going to look at some team handball.
Good.
You were telling me about the first time you saw team handball.
Montreal Olympics. I couldn't believe it. I said, what is that? They said it's a new sport just introduced into the Olympics, and I watched it, and it's funny. Volleyball, water polo, team handball, sports that the Americans really never paid much attention to. More and more, when they put them on, they watch them. They're sort of fascinating. And I think as the Olympic years go by and the Goodwill Games go by, you'll see more and more attention being given to those sports.
In our coverage of the Goodwill Games so far, we're finding really a lot of response to the volleyball coverage. For instance, we've had here the women's volleyball championship, and of course the men are about to play.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more.
Good.
Curt Gowdy is going to stay with us for the entire hour. We're going to come back and see team handball in just a moment. Don't go away. We continue with the late night coverage of the Goodwill Games. Today's the first day of coverage of team handball. They're playing at, both men and women playing at two different locations, Dynamo and the Red Army Sports Palace. First of all, we're going to cover the U.S.-Japan game. Might remind you that the U.S. women's team was decimated by that Defense Department ruling which prohibited military personnel from playing in competition in the Goodwill Games. Both of the goalies of the United States team were not allowed to compete in the game because they were military personnel. The present goalkeeper has played only 3 months, and the United States playing a very tough team from Japan. So let's go now to Dynamo Sports Palace, Craig Sager and Dr. Peter Buning and team handball.
Next to soccer, team handball is the most popular sport in Europe. But as far as Americans are concerned, it's a relatively new sport. Our analyst is the man who introduced the sport in the United States in 1959. And the American team has come a long way in a short time.
Indeed, we have come a long way, Craig. From starting with a few clubs in the East, the sport has spread across the country in schools, colleges, and our Olympic teams and national teams have risen in world ranking. We are now ranked amongst the top 10 in the world. We think we have some real chances for 1988.
The businessman who works out at his local club or gym regularly at a game of handball perhaps feels the game as he plays it is a sufficient test of agility and endurance. But if we got news for him, as we prepared for the Goodwill Games, we visited the U.S. Team Handball Center in Colorado Springs. Team handball is not America's pastime, nor is it America's game, and it doesn't rival the Super Bowl nor the Stanley Cup playoffs. But it does use techniques inherent to our major sports. What you just saw was a basic play in team handball. The center backcourt, Bob Jakovich, came down, threw a pass in the air to Joe Story, the left wing, who caught it in midair, threw it then to the right backcourt, Steve Goss, who put it in goal. The Houston Rockets use a very similar play. Robert Reed comes down, hits Rodney McRae with an alley-oop, who catches it in midair, throws another alley-oop to Ralph Sampson, who puts it in goal. Team handball combines the running, passing, jumping, and shooting skills of basketball. Height can be used to your advantage, but Joe Story at 5'7" drives through players a foot taller than he is, just as Spud Webb does for the Atlanta Hawks.
Each team has 6 court players and a goalkeeper. A pattern offense is used, with Jim Buning relying on his teammates for protection, as Alabama's Mike Shula must do. Like Buning, Shula has a quick release, an accurate arm, and knows when to shoot. Handball is a very physical game. Greg Morava uses strength and quickness to get past the defender. Cornelius Bennett of Alabama uses the same skills to rush the quarterback. You may dribble or run with the ball, but as Tom Schneeberger demonstrates, it must be released before landing in a 9-meter goal area. Auburn's Bo Jackson also scores by diving towards the goal. Unlike soccer, the scoring weapon is the arm, not the leg. Jim Buning winds up and fires on target, the same way Darryl Strawberry does to gun down a runner going to third. But it's not always how hard you throw the ball that counts. Joe Story's lob has the same effect on a goalie as Phil Niekro's eephus pitch on an unsuspecting batter. Excessive roughness results in a foul or penalty. A penalty shot is awarded if a player is fouled with a clear shot at goal, as Philadelphia's Ron Sutter was in the '85 Stanley Cup playoffs. 1 foot must remain on the 7-meter line. In hockey, you get a full head of steam. Once again, it's 1-on-1 with a goalie. The U.S. women open the competition against Japan. They are trailing at this point 23-16. What's happened so far, Peter?
Well, it has been a disappointing afternoon for the U.S. women. They came in here fully expecting to beat the Japanese, but the Japanese team has had a very quick attack, good ball handling, and excellent no shooting.
A shot right there by Sandra De La Riva of the United States. A great block by Toyoka Kuzo. They're going. Look at this fast break. And a great shot by Michiko Terasawa and the fast break for Japan.
Yes, this has been the story of the afternoon. The Japanese are very, very quick, and they're penetrating and slashing through the U.S. defense. Our girls are just a little one step slow. But at the moment, I think the tide is turning a bit.
The score right now is 24-16. The United States with the ball. Number 3 is Meg Gallagher out to Sandra De La Riva. Back to Meg, and there's Sam Jones with a cross-court pass over to Karen Palgett as the United States trying to penetrate. And a whistle.
Yes, here she got hit on the arm. Sandra De La Riva is taking the ball to the free throw line. Right now, she's just putting the ball in play.
A flagrant foul, you get a penalty shot, but otherwise you just get the ball back. So the United States with the ball once again. Sam Jones at the top of the key over to the right-hand side to Sandra De La Riva. In the corner it goes. Sandra has it back out front to Sam. And a nice shot by Sherry Wynn in the corner.
Yes, it wasn't a very strong shot, but it was a very well-placed shot. Low on the ground, impossible for the goalie to stop.
Nice shot by Sherry Wynn, as you can see. Aim for that corner, and that's where she got it.
The U.S. team is playing a 6-0 defense. And here again, another low shot. The goalie gets beaten by it.
Lori Conan, our goaltender, does not have a lot of experience.
No, she has playing handball for 8 weeks. She is an outstanding athlete, has had a real good afternoon, but she has trouble with the low shots of the Japanese.
The name Lori Conan may mean a lot to some people who follow Big Ten basketball. She's a great scoring champion from the University of Minnesota. United States women again with the ball, trying to get some offense going. They are trailing 25-17. Sam Jones with the ball out front. And they work it to Sherry Wynn again. Another shot by Sherry for a goal.
Absolutely well played. 3 Olympic veterans, Sherry Wynn and Sandra De La Riva and Sam Jones combined for the score.
Now the U.S. coming back on defense. Trying to put some pressure on the Japanese, but also trying to give our goaltender some help.
Yeah, it's actually, it's only fair to say that our team has been handicapped by the order of the Defense Department that didn't permit our first goalie and Air Force captain to come to the Soviet Union. Kathy Callahan is a specialist for shots like that, and the afternoon would have turned out a bit different.
But Lori Conan doing the best job she can coming in. It's now 26-18. The U.S. women and the United States went on to lose to Japan. The final score, Japan 31, United States women 21.
And we'll be back with the men's competition from Team Handball in just a moment. First, we want to remind you of a very busy day coming up tomorrow. We're going to be carrying on the prime time telecast tomorrow that critical game in round 2 of the Men's World Basketball Championships from Oviedo, Spain, the United States and Canada. Men's gymnastics will continue with individual all-around. Yachting from Tallinn Bay with Gary Jobson and Ted Turner. Other activities Monday coming your way. The beginning of men's volleyball, United States, Bulgaria. Remember now, the United States thought to be probably the best men's volleyball team in the world now. Most of the players are still there from the Olympics. Of course, the Soviet Union are going to be strong there. That will be great competition. Wrestling, we'll have tennis, and also Team Handball will be involved in day 2. And in just a moment, we're going to come back and continue with handball. We'll be taking a look at the men's team. They'll be in action. It's a very good team handball team. So stay with us. We'll continue with late night coverage of the Goodwill Games.
We return to the Dynamo Sports Center with U.S. men back on defense in their opening game against Czechoslovakia. The U.S. men pulling a major surprise. They are leading Czechoslovakia 22-19.
It has been a fantastic game for the U.S. men so far. They came out playing concentrated, hard handball. They shot excellently and have been leading all the way.
Just over 3 minutes to play in the game in what's been a very close, intense game. There's a shot and a goal by Peter Baumgartner from Czechoslovakia. The score now 22-20.
It's going to be a rough 2 minutes here for the U.S. to pull off the victory. You have a veteran Czech squad, and these fellows will not lose very easily.
Both teams have got a lot of experience. The United States setting the offense. Number 8 is Steve Goss with the ball over to Bob Jakovich, trying to move the offense and get a penetration. He takes a shot, but it's blocked.
Oh, Bob didn't like this call. He thought he had been fouled and should have had a penalty, but the referees didn't see it that way.
No time to argue either. You have to get back very quickly on defense, and another goal by Czechoslovakia. Libor Savadini with the lob shot.
And now we're down to 1 goal difference.
22-21.
Kessler has had a fantastic afternoon. He has stopped 2 penalties and has had several point-blank saves.
The United States men holding on to a 1-goal lead. We're down to the final minute and a half. Steve Goss out front. Over to Joe Story.
Now the experience of the players will have to show.
The rest of the offense, Jim Buning over to Joe McVeigh. Back out to Bob Jakovich over to Goss. That's Steve Goss, number 8, with the ball, with a nice pass back to Jakovich. And he goes in for a shot and is knocked to the ground.
In handball, you can't stall. It's not that you have to maintain the attack. And it will be very difficult for the U.S. team here to pull off the victory.
Again, the score 22-21, final minute of the play. That's Jakovich with the ball. Over to Joe Story. Up the middle, but a great save by the Czechoslovakian goaltender.
And Joe was fouled in the act of shooting. There's a penalty shot coming up. This could be the victory for the U.S.
On that penalty shot, you will line up, and it's you against the goalie one-on-one. Coming in to take the shot is Greg Morava.
Yes, the solid line right in front of the arc is the 7-meter line.
So a 7-meter shot coming up for Greg Morava.
Greg Morava has had a great afternoon. He went 4 for 5 in the first half.
But what a great kick save by the Czechoslovakian goaltender. He is rising to the occasion.
Oh, my God. This minute won't end.
22-21, the United States with the lead, but Czechoslovakia with the ball. The U.S. men back on defense, trying to be very tentative here and also trying to help Billy Kessler, their goaltender, so that he doesn't have as much pressure on him.
For some reason, it seems that the Czechs are trying to draw a penalty so that they can tie the game.
Less than a minute to play. Czechoslovakia with the ball, driving in. Kessler with a nice save, gets the ball for the United States, and the U.S. has control. It's Mark Carlson that's just checked into the game for the United States. Now he comes back out.
Scott is our defensive specialist. He spots Jakovich on defense. Jakovich plays on offense.
You can have substitutions in handball at any time as long as you go. The player coming in doesn't come in before the other player leaves.
Exactly like in ice hockey.
Joe Story over to Goss, to Jakovich. Right-hand side of McVeigh, back to Jakovich, and over to McVeigh in the corner to Buning. And the United States men trying to move in for a good shot, but they're knocked to the ground by Czechoslovakia.
That foul could have been a 2-minute ejection.
But the U.S. men will get the ball back again. 22-21.
In fact, it is a 2-minute ejection. Czechoslovakia is playing one man short now.
Power play for the United States. Goss with the ball out front. Working with Jakovic. Jakovic in. The shot is deflected and out of bounds, but it was hit last by a Czechoslovakian player, so the U.S. men will get the ball again. Holding on to a slim 1-goal lead, 22-21.
These are tense moments.
Goss with the ball. And what a shot and a goal by Steve Goss.
The goalie never saw the ball, and that salts away the victory for the U.S.
Steve Goss puts it in with 19 seconds to play. The U.S. men with a 2-goal lead. All they have to do is hold on to this lead in the final seconds. What a shot by Steve Goss. Czechoslovakia, though, has time to come back and get a quick score and hope for a turnover, try to have the ball back. Here's a penalty shot coming up against Billy Kessler. And a kick save by Kessler.
The third penalty saved by Billy Kessler.
And that should do it. The United States men with the ball. Greg Morava looks up, and that's the end of the game. The U.S. men with a major upset, Peter.
Well, it is probably the best game that I've seen our team play. And it bodes very well for the rest of the tournament. Tomorrow is Iceland. After that, the Soviet Union and Poland.
The U.S. men winning their opening game in team handball, 23-21 over Czechoslovakia.
Yes, it has been quite a surprise here. And if our men maintain their level of play that they have shown today, they're certainly on line for a medal.
The U.S. men with a victory in game 1, a tremendous victory with an upset over Czechoslovakia, and we could have a major story developing in team handball.
So the U.S. men with an upset to begin play in team handball. They'll be playing at the Red Army Palace tomorrow against Iceland. We'll, of course, have coverage. Kurt, you and I are enjoying watching that. Don't get to see much in the States on TV.
It's a weird-looking sport. It's got everything in it, though. They bring the ball down, they move it around like basketball. They fast break like hockey and basketball, and they throw the ball like we use our hands. They use their feet in Europe. We use our hands in America, baseball, and all our sports, football. It's a very interesting sport and a lot rougher than it looks.
Yeah, very rough sport.
Yeah.
And speaking of basketball, U.S. men today were upset by Argentina. They're still alive for a medal, but I know you saw that game. I'm interested in what you think about, A, the U.S. team. It's their first loss. They're still alive. And that game and how they can come back when they play Canada tomorrow.
Well, I don't, any team that shoots below 50% free throw shooting, and we got some college All-Americans in that team, and their field goal shooting was poor. They played a very poor game. One thing that I can't understand is why Dave Robinson's not scoring more points. His fundamentals don't look good. He's not planting his feet, spreading, and coming up with some power off the floor. I thought he would be a big scorer here. He hasn't been so far. They've got to shoot better, or they're not even going to get into the so-called, you said, the Final Four, the semifinal. I think they'll win their next 2 games and move in there, but it's no cakewalk for them. And what did they? How many? They only won 1 world championship in
1954. Yeah. When the World Championships first started, they were all held in South America, and because of the different seasons, the championships were held when the United States players were in college. And so early days, as you'll recall this, I'm sure, they were using, this is in the 50s and early 60s, using amateur teams out of the AAU group, the Oilers, right. I think it was the Denver Chevrolets lost in the 1950 game.
AAU ball used to be big, but we never have sent our great teams to these to world games.
And once again, this is certainly not the best amateur team they met.
Will Chamberlain once told me he had a goal, a dream of playing in the Olympic Games. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, you're a professional. He said, there's not a true amateur in the world.
I think that's probably pretty accurate, too. We're going to be rejoining Curt Gowdy as we continue with our late-night hour coverage of the Goodwill Games. In just a moment, we'll be back to recap the men's 10-meter platform diving competition at the Olympic complex for diving. You stay with us as we continue on the Goodwill Games coverage. In diving today. Matter of fact, it was not only excellent, it was very beautiful. And a Soviet diver is the man who ran away with the gold. His name is Sergei Gurilev. He clinched the platform gold at the Goodwill Games today, producing a spectacularly clean inward 3.5 somersault with a tuck, for which he garnered 86.40 points, the highest single dive score. Gurilev finished with 609 points after 10 dives and won the gold. American Dan Watson took the silver. China's Gao Feng won the bronze in the men's 10-meter platform diving. And it was raining today at Yermala, where we're covering tennis competition, but they finally got the competition underway as they moved it indoors. So let's go now for a report on the tennis competition about 500 miles northwest of Moscow, and here's Barbara Estep.
On July 5th, the Goodwill Games came to Moscow, and a week later, we came to the seacoast resort city of Yermala, anticipating great weather and good tennis. Well, the weather has not been great, but the tennis is more than holding up its end of the bargain. Unfortunately, for the second day running, the organizers here have been forced to cancel all outdoor play, and they face the nightmare task of trying to reschedule all matches onto 2 indoor courts. So let's go in now and have a look at today's action. This is the Yermala Tennis Center, where first-round play in the women's singles began today. The first American to play was 20-year-old Ronnie Reis, who came into the tournament seeded 8th. Ronnie's a 2-time All-American, but still manages to maintain her academic standing on the Dean's List at the University of Miami, where she majors in business management. Today, Reis had to manage one of the toughest first-round draws in the tournament, pitted against 18-year-old Leila Meshki of the Soviet Union. Leila just returned from a very successful fortnight in England, where she got to the finals of the junior event at Wimbledon. She has few flaws in her game, she hits well off both sides, and she plays with a good deal of confidence. Reis's game depends on her big lefty first serve, and she held it love in the first game of the match. But serving at 1-all, she failed to get any first serves into play and quickly found herself down a break. Each player held serve for the next 6 games. Reis broke back in the 10th game to force a tiebreak, and it was here that we saw some of the most consistent rallies of the match. The girls traded powerful ground strokes, each content to stay back and rally until just the right opportunity to become a bit more aggressive. Several points were quite lengthy, particularly in light of the fact that the players were on a very fast carpet. When pulled into net, Meshki displayed a comfortable volley, but the age and the collegiate experience of her opponent was just a little too much for the Wimbledon junior finalist. And Reis, at 6-5 in the breaker, again uncorked her big first serve to take the set. The second set went entirely on serve until 4-5, when, as early in the first set, Reis failed to get a single first serve in play. She quickly got down love 40, saved 1 set point, then Meshki evened the match at 1 set all. The third set was riddled with service breaks, and each player held match points on her opponent's serve. But this set, like the first, went to a tiebreak. At 4-all in the breaker, Reis worked herself into position for an overhead to go up a mini break. 5-4 with 2 serves to come. That was the perfect time to uncork her 5th ace of the match, 6-4. A forehand volley error prolonged the agony, not just for Ronnie Reis, but also for her coach, Sheila McInerney. But the number 8 seed finally clinched the match, and we'll see this clean backhand winner down the line. I think you can see for yourself that Ronnie Reis was more than a little relieved to have slipped through the first round with a very close match. Final score, 7-6, 4-6, 7-6. Well done, Ronnie. You couldn't have done it in a much tougher way than a tiebreak in the third set.
Thanks a lot. Could have been a little easier, but I'm glad I just made it through it with a win and go on to the next round.
Well, as the number 8 seed, I thought it was a little unfortunate that you had to come in and play your first round match against the girl who was a finalist at Junior Wimbledon this year.
That was a tough one. It was probably one of the toughest first rounds in the draw. It's just the luck of the draw. She probably just missed. She could have been seeded 9th or 8th. You know, it's just everyone's from a different country, and it's hard to get the seeds exactly, you know, right all the time.
Well, also the seeds were made just prior to Wimbledon, so her Wimbledon result really didn't count. Did it help you, or was it a hindrance to you to move indoors?
I think it's better for my game. I don't know about her. I think she might have, I think she's probably better on red clay. I don't know why, because she doesn't, you know, come in as much. For my game, I'm a serve and volleyer, and this fast court probably helped me. But I think it was kind of hard because we've been practicing on red clay, and it's so much slower. And to come in here, I was hitting a little late. But, you know, after getting into the match, I started hitting it better.
Well, you have a huge first serve. Now, in the third set, your service percentage was only about 50%. Were you getting a little tired?
At the beginning of the third set, I was really tired, and I almost couldn't even move my legs anymore. It was like, just keep going, you know, it's still close. And I think that the crucial point was 3-2. I think she was up like 45 on my serve. And I came back and won that game, and I thought, you know, it's 3-all. You can still, if you push yourself, you can still win this match, and I did.
After the first day of competition in round 2 of the World Basketball Championships in Oviedo, Spain, the city that the United States is playing in, along with 5 other teams in their particular group, Group A, the United States disappointed, upset 74-70 by Argentina. The United States were plagued by turnovers. Argentina moved the ball inside, had great perimeter shooting, and were really a team of destiny for this one game. Argentina had not done very well previously, and as Bob Knight said on our telecast, he thinks they may not do very well after this, but they had their day in the sun, defeating the U.S. in basketball 74-70 today. I do want to remind you that the United States is definitely not out of contention for the gold medal or to get that round. They simply have to win their next 2 games in this round robin in the second round. We'll have U.S. versus Canada tomorrow, and that'll be carried on our primetime coverage of the Goodwill Games. And right now we want to go back to some wrestling today. The Soviet Union wrestled Bulgaria for the gold medals in the Goodwill game. The Soviet Union has been unbelievable. They have not lost a single match in competition here, not a single match. And as we pick up action in the gold medal game versus Bulgaria, the Soviet Union is 29-0 and going for number 30.
If you sense a look of concern on the face of Atanasov of Bulgaria, I think you may be right. The Soviet Union now ahead in this gold medal match. They've already won it 9-0. David Gobedjishvili in the blue singlet. The last match here in the dual meet competition in the Goodwill Games. Gobedjishvili, a 1985 world champion. The only real close match he's had, and that was a defeat by the hands of America's Bruce Baumgartner in the World Cup in April of this year. We'll see the 2 of them, Baumgartner and Gobedjishvili, going at it for the individual gold medal tomorrow evening. But right now, the job at hand for Gobedjishvili, continue this streak that his Soviet countrymen have put together. They've won 29 matches in a row and have yet to lose here in the Goodwill Games. They beat Mongolia with a shutout 10-0, did the same to Japan 10-0, and right now lead 9-0 over Bulgaria. In over 50-some minutes of matches, against the Soviets. They have only allowed 11 points to be scored against them. The United States expecting to be in this finals match, tied a very young Bulgarian team that right now is showing us they weren't that good. The USA, however, did win the bronze medal by beating Mongolia earlier this evening, 8-2. Not much action here in this heavyweight match. Gobedjishvili takes the top position as Atanasov of Bulgaria is called for his first caution. Neither wrestler being very aggressive in my mind. Our arm control here by Gobedjishvili of the Soviet Union, trying to lock up a cradle position. We don't see a lot of this in international competition. It's more of an American move, but occasionally you'll see some of the Soviets pick it up. Unable to make it work. Atanasov covering up. 1 minute remaining in the first period. David Gobedjishvili lives in Tbilisi, Republic of Georgia, in the southern part of the Soviet Union. He goes to the university down there and is majoring in economics. Gobedjishvili has won by fall in both of his early matches, but doesn't seem to be too pressed into action here in this match. He's called now for passivity, and Atanasov of Bulgaria has an opportunity to work a turn against Gobedjishvili. Secures that leg, trying to put a lot of pressure on the hip back area. Who uses that gut wrench, gets the 2 points. Gobedjishvili counters back out of it and gets 1 point for the reversal. Surprising that Gobedjishvili went that easy with that gut wrench put on by Atanasov, but Atanasov takes the early lead, 2-1, or the late lead here, I should say, in the end of this first period. That's the first time any wrestler for Bulgaria has had the lead in a match against the Soviet Union. So at the end of the first period, Atanasov of Bulgaria leads David Gobedjishvili of the Soviet Union by a score of 2-1. Individual matchups coming your way tomorrow night, as 10 wrestlers, 20 wrestlers will be going for the gold medal in their weight classes. The United States has 6 wrestlers. Kevin Darkus at 125 will wrestle Sergei Beloglazov. John Smith of the United States will wrestle Asayev of the Soviet Union. Obviously, the Soviet Union will have all 10 of its wrestlers in the finals. Andrei Metzger will go against Fatsayev in what should be a very exciting match at 149.5. And David Schultz, Olympic and world champion for the United States, will wrestle Varayev of the Soviet Union. And, of course, Bruce Baumgartner of the United States will take on this man, countering out of this move right here, David Gobedjishvili, as he goes for the title at heavyweight. Jim Shearer of the United States will also join that group of 5 that I listed, as he will take on Maharbet Kadartsev of the Soviet Union at 198 pounds. 3 Bulgarians and 1 Turkish wrestler will also be in the finals against Soviets in the other weight classes. You're watching heavyweight action in the final match of the gold medal match between Bulgaria and the Soviet Union. David Gobedjishvili in the blue singlet, right now being beaten by Atanasov of Bulgaria. The Soviet Union leading right now 9-0. No one has really even staged a close match to this point, although Atanasov is ahead. This would be the first loss for the Soviet Union if he is able to hang on to this lead through the duration of this second period. Gobedjishvili was a 1985 world champion, driving here to try to penetrate on Atanasov of Bulgaria. Gobedjishvili's only loss coming at the hands of Bruce Baumgartner in the World Cup in Toledo in April. It's the only loss he's had in a long time in the heavyweight division. A minute and 45 seconds remaining. Atanasov of Bulgaria does have 2 cautions against him in spite of the fact that he is leading 2-1. It's very unusual to see a wrestler who has scored technical points be cautioned out, but Atanasov of Bulgaria really not doing very much right now, protecting that lead that he did get with the gut wrench turn late in the first period. I think well, they're calling for a caution here. Kind of surprising against Gobedjishvili. That will be his second caution. I guess we don't always see the matches the same. I sense right there that Atanasov was backing off. I still feel that way, but the officials make the call against Gobedjishvili of the Soviet Union. Atanasov takes the top position, trying to work that gut wrench again, and he does. That's 2 points for Atanasov of Bulgaria. He makes that gut wrench work again. Gobedjishvili gets a reversal after the turn, but Atanasov of Bulgaria leads. This would be the first loss for the Soviet Union for any one of its wrestlers in this competition. Atanasov, just not that good a wrestler, be doing this, but nonetheless he has the lead. Gobedjishvili getting fired up here, gets the takedown. Less than a minute to go in this final match. I'm sure the Soviet Union would like to make a clean sweep of all of its matches. They would not particularly like to have their world champion David Gobedjishvili lose in the final matchup here. 40 seconds remaining. In international wrestling, there are no ties. Atanasov of Bulgaria has 2 two-point moves. Even if Gobedjishvili gets the takedown, he's going to need more points. There it is. 1 point for the takedown. He ties the match, but he's still losing. He's still losing. Referee stops the action. Since Atanasov had those 2 gut wrenches, he is still ahead. Gobedjishvili needs to put the pressure on. 17 seconds to go. Atanasov only protecting. Gobedjishvili in on the leg. Oh, he attempts to throw. It's off the match. They're going to go 2 and 2. 2 and 2. Gobedjishvili driving in on the action. Well, the match judge and the match chairman scored 3 points for Gobedjishvili of the Soviet Union. He had the initial shot, which took Atanasov of Bulgaria to his back. He gets the 3. Atanasov counters back and puts Gobedjishvili on his back, but only gets 2. So the Soviet Union keeps their winning streak alive. 10 in a row tonight. 20 matches before that, 30 matches altogether. They win the gold medal. They shut out all of their opponents. Soviet Union wins the gold medal. The USA did win the bronze earlier by beating Mongolia 8-2. Tomorrow evening, here we take a look at that final action that decided this match. A little bit controversial, I'm afraid it will be. Gobedjishvili driving him to his mat from his feet. He gets the 3. Atanasov countering the move, taking Gobedjishvili to his back. He only gets the 2. The deciding factor in the match gives the margin to Gobedjishvili. Should be some exciting matches. All 10 of the Soviets will be in the finals tomorrow. We'll see whether or not anyone, 6 Americans, 3 Bulgarians, or 1 wrestler from Turkey can beat a wrestler from the Soviet Union. The Soviets win the gold. Bulgaria is 2nd. The USA is 3rd. That's the action here from Druzhba Sports Arena and Freestyle Wrestling.
It's time for Goodwill Trivia. I'm really enjoying this one tonight on behalf of parents everywhere. My hint is that it's something you say to your kids. I have a son in college and summer school. He thought he was escaped from my calls. But through the millions of dollars here, we get to say it. The word is Yezdeli Uroki. Yezdeli Uroki. Yezdeli Uroki. That's pretty close, I think. And that means Do your homework. Parents the world over say it. Jest deli uroki. It'll probably have the same success in Russian as it does in English. Sure, I'll get to it later. I got a game of ball to play right now. Curt, thanks for being with us tonight. You are going to be covering Tuesday and Wednesday figure skating with Peggy Fleming.
Have 4 world champions here, Brian Bottano and Debbie Thomas.
Yeah.
Debbie from Stanford, the world champion, and then we have Bestemanova and Buchan, the dance world champions, and Gordevia and Grinkov of the USSR, the pairs world champions. It's an exhibition, but they have about 20 programs of the greatest in the world that'll be skating here Tuesday and Wednesday nights.
And Peggy Fleming was on the other night. She said she's going to look forward to working with you again. She really admires you a lot.
She's a wonderful guy. She did a great special out of here in the 70s, From Russia with Love, from Moscow and Leningrad, so she knows this country well.
Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
We will just say on behalf of Curt Gowdy, this is Bob Neal, Das Badanya from Moscow.